Similar to how we use Docker as a tool to help us create containers, we'll be using Travis as a tool to help us with the continuous integration part of our CI/CD pipeline. Travis will build our Docker image and push it to Docker Hub. YAML files help us specify configurations. It's a type of file format that is really simple to read and simple for programs to parse. It's a configuration file that's very similar to how we can use JSON to specify values that we want. So let's start off by taking a look at what a Travis file looks like. You can see that when I used the command ls, nothing came up. Well, the Travis file didn't come up, but when I used the ls-a command, you can see that the Travis file showed up. And it's because that Travis file is prepended with a dot in the front, and that is telling the command line to hide it unless we explicitly ask for every file to be shown. So if you don't see your Travis file in your directory and you know you made it, don't be worried. Let's start off by looking inside this Travis file and taking a glance at how it's structured. At the top, we've declared that we'll be using Node.js as part of this project. And overall, the file is just a series of steps that define some processes that we want. We have an install phase, a before script phase, a script phase, after success phase, and a deploy phase. Ultimately, the idea is that you can choose what commands you want to put in which phases and logically organize your build pipeline however you deem fit. The idea is that the way it's structured here, we can specify the commands that we want for each part, and Travis will respect the phases that you have. You can see we have this command here to build a Docker image. And these commands should seem very familiar to you because at the end of the day, what's defined in here, they're just commands that we've been using. So let's take a step out of this Travis YAML file and see what it looks like when it's actually used in Travis. We'll start off by taking a really quick glance at what the Travis dashboard looks like. We have some repositories that are linked with Travis. If you were coming to set up a new Travis pipeline, what you would do first is that you would go to the settings here and you would activate the GitHub Apps integration. What this does is that this will open a connection to GitHub and allow you to grant Travis access to your GitHub repositories. This is a really easy way to set up the integration between GitHub and Travis so that Travis can see what repositories you have and be able to pull the code and build them. So I've done that already before loading this page, so you can already see that there are some repositories here. Let's go into Simple Node. It's a project that we should be familiar with, and take a quick look at it. This has some metadata about what's going on in my master branch. And what happens here is that if I start a build can be triggered through some actions such as a merge or a push, or I can manually come in here and click this button to restart a build. What's going to happen is that now Travis is going to fire off workers that will run the commands that I specified in that Travis YAML file and run each of the steps. Ultimately, the idea is that it's going to pull the code from GitHub, it's going to run the Docker build commands, and then it will push the image into Docker Hub. So that might take a few seconds to finish running. In the meantime, I want to show you that previously, when we pushed Docker images to Docker Hub, we had to log in into Docker Hub with some credentials. Here, I've already set up my Docker username and my Docker password. What this does is that once Travis reaches that step where it needs to push the image to Docker Hub, it will have these credentials ready to make that connection. How it uses this is that in the Travis YAML file, I specified to use the Docker username and the Docker password to log in, similar to how I would normally do so in the command line. Now, since this has run for a few seconds now, I just want to show you what the output looks like. We can see that all these commands look very familiar because at the end of the day, they're just running the same Docker commands, but on a remote environment that's trying to execute this for us. It runs this process going through the steps that we've specified inside the YAML file.